This is a short overview of Chapter 9, Outer Joins. I will start with outer joins in general, then move to left and right outer joins, and then end with full outer joins. An outer join returns not only the rows that match the criteria you specify in your query, but also the unmatched rows from either one or both of the two sets you want to link. In this example, we are linking two sets of data, and we will perform an outer join and return rows that match criteria and unmatched rows in the student set. Here we have a visual representation of the outer join. In the student set, we have an outer join that includes students which are not registered in a class. In the intersection, we have students that are registered in a class. In general, you'll use the outer join form to return rows that match a criteria and to return rows that do not match the criteria from one of the sets in the query. If one of the sets is on the left, you can specify left outer join. This is what we just did for students in classes in the previous example. This was a left outer join because we are returning the rows that match the criteria, which are the rows in the intersection, and we are returning the rows from the student data set that do not match the criteria. Very similar, we can have a right or outer join where we return the rows that match the criteria that are located in the intersection of the two data sets, and we can return the rows that do not match the criteria that are in the classes data set. This is an example of left outer join and right outer join. This is the syntax diagram for left or right outer join. It is very similar to the syntax diagram for an inner join. Notice the major difference. We have left, right, outer instead of inner. That is the major difference. Let's look at another example of a left outer join. The request is to display the recipe classes that do not yet have any recipes. The SQL statement is shown here. Notice the using clause. We were introduced to the using clause in the previous chapter when we learned about inner joins. Recall, we can use the using clause in a select statement when our tables have the same spelling of the column that we are going to use to link the two tables. In this case, recipe classes has the column recipe class ID, and so does the table recipes. This is a visual depiction of the two sets of data and how they are related. The blue area shows us the left outer join area that would be returned by the query. This is another syntax diagram of the left and right outer join. In addition, we have select statements. We can use select statements in the from clause and the join clause, just as we did with the inner join that we learned about in the previous chapter. Keep in mind to keep track of your parentheses for your select statements. There should be an open parentheses and a closed parentheses for each select statement. Let's look at examples of embedded select statements. In the first select statement, we see an embedded select statement in the from clause. In the second select statement, we see two embedded select statements, one in the from clause and one in the left outer join clause. In addition to embedding select statements in the from clause and the join clause, you can also embed joins. Let's look at an example. Here we have an example of a select statement with embedded joins. The first one is a left outer join between recipes and recipe classes. The second one is an inner join between recipe ingredients and recipes. The third one is an inner join between ingredients and recipe ingredients. And the fourth and final one is an inner join between measurements and recipe ingredients. We've reviewed left outer and right outer. Let's now review full outer join. Essentially, with a full outer join, you are retrieving all of the records from both data sets. This is the visual depiction of two data sets in a full outer join. This is an example of a full outer join. The request is show me all the students and all the teachers and list together those who have the same first name. This is our select statement. We have a full outer join between students and staff, and we are joining on student first name and staff first name. In this short overview of Chapter 9, I covered the outer join in general, and then I moved into the left outer join and the right outer join, and I closed with the full outer join. Your assignments this week are the Chapter 9 quiz and the Chapter 9 lab.